Welcome back to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling a topic that feels straight out of science fiction,
Yeah,
de-extinction.
bringing back the beasts.
Exactly. We've got research papers, we've got articles, we've even got some notes from a lecture,
Wow.
all about bringing back extinct animals.
Mm.
And not just any animals. We're
Yeah.
talking about woolly mammoths and dinosaurs.
The big guys.
Yeah, the big ones.
Ones that everyone wants to see.
Exactly. So, can we really bring back these giants? And more importantly, should we?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely captures the imagination, and the science behind it is evolving rapidly. We've got three main methods being explored: cloning, selective breeding, and genetic engineering. Each has its own hurdles and ethical considerations, of course.
Okay, so let's start with the most straightforward one, cloning. Isn't that how they did it in Jurassic Park?
Oh, the classic.
Yeah. Find some dino DNA and bam, instant dinosaur.
Well, if only it were that simple. Cloning requires viable cells, and finding those from creatures extinct for thousands or even millions of years is a major obstacle.
Right.
DNA degrades over time, so even if we find fragments, reconstructing a complete genome is like putting together a puzzle with most of the pieces missing.
So cloning is probably off the table
Mm-hmm.
for our mammoth and dinosaur friends. What about selective breeding? Could we breed a modern elephant to have mammoth-like traits, kind of like how we got different dog breeds?
That's the idea behind selective breeding, but it's much more challenging than breeding dogs. You're essentially trying to guide evolution in a specific direction. Selecting for traits that resemble those of the extinct animal, it wouldn't truly bring back the extinct species, but rather create a new breed that shares some characteristics.
Interesting. So not quite a true resurrection. That leaves us with genetic engineering. This is where CRISPR comes in, right?
Exactly.
I've heard it described as a molecular scalpel for DNA.
Precisely. CRISPR allows for incredibly precise edits to DNA sequences. Scientists compare the genomes of extinct animals with their living relatives, identify key differences, and use CRISPR to rewrite the DNA. Essentially, they're introducing extinct traits into a living species.
This is where things get really fascinating. Let's focus on the woolly mammoth first. Imagine these massive furry creatures lumbering across the frozen plains again. It's incredible to think that might actually be possible.
It is pretty cool, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding the Mammoth De-Extinction project, and for good reason. While cloning isn't feasible due to the lack of intact cells, permafrost offers a glimmer of hope. This permanently frozen ground acts as a natural freezer, preserving mammoth remains remarkably well.
It's like a time capsule from the Ice Age.
Yeah.
I remember reading about a mammoth carcass found in Siberia, so well preserved that it even bled when cut.
Oh, wow.
A bit morbid,
Yeah.
but also incredible.
That's a great example. That discovery really highlighted the preservation potential of permafrost. But even with well-preserved remains, the DNA is often fragmented. That's where Dr. George Church and his team at Harvard come in. They're pioneers in the Mammoth Revival Project. Using CRISPR to compare mammoth and Asian elephant genomes, they're identifying those key differences and editing the Asian elephant DNA to resemble that of the mammoth.
That sounds like a monumental task. Just how many edits are we talking about here?
Well, they estimate roughly 400,000 DNA fragments need to be edited.
Wow.
It's a huge undertaking. If successful, they'd then implant the edited nucleus into an Asian elephant egg
Activate it.
and hope for a successful pregnancy in a surrogate elephant.
So it wouldn't be a pure woolly mammoth,
Right.
but more like a hybrid.
Precisely. It would be a creature with a mix of Asian elephant and mammoth DNA, but those key mammoth characteristics like long hair, thick fat, and those iconic tusks would likely be present. Think of it as a Mammoth 2.0, a starting point for potentially reintroducing these creatures to their natural habitat.
I can already picture it. Herds of these hybrid mammoths roaming the Arctic tundra again. It would be incredible.
It would be something else. And there's always the possibility of finding even better preserved mammoth DNA in the future, potentially leading to a more authentic mammoth revival. The future of this project is incredibly exciting.
Now let's talk about something even more fantastical. Dinosaurs. I think everyone who's seen Jurassic Park has wondered, could we bring back dinosaurs? Is there any chance of finding their DNA preserved somewhere?
I mean, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
That's what everyone wants to know. Well, the movie's depiction of extracting dino DNA from a mosquito trapped in amber is a bit far-fetched.
Right.
While insects trapped in amber have been found, the chances of finding intact dinosaur DNA are slim to none. DNA just doesn't survive that long in a pristine state.
So no Jurassic Park scenarios then.
I don't think so.
What about other sources of dinosaur DNA? Has any been found?
Finding well-preserved dinosaur DNA is incredibly challenging, but not entirely impossible. There have been some tantalizing discoveries, like proteins found in a T-Rex bone and soft tissue in a hadrosaur fossil. These findings suggest that under extraordinary circumstances, some fragments of dinosaur DNA might survive.
Okay, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope. But wouldn't reconstructing a complete genome from tiny fragments be like solving the world's most complex jigsaw puzzle, with most of the pieces missing?
It would be a massive scientific undertaking requiring groundbreaking technological advancements. But there's one person who isn't deterred by the challenge, Dr. Jack Horner, the paleontologist who inspired Jurassic Park.
Oh, wow.
He's always wanted a pet dinosaur, and he's pursuing a rather unconventional approach to make that dream a reality.
A pet dinosaur. That sounds ambitious, to say the least. What's his plan?
Dr. Horner recognizes that resurrecting dinosaurs directly might be impossible with current technology. Instead, he's focused on the Chickenosaurus project, which aims to reverse evolve chickens, their closest living relative, into dinosaur-like creatures.
Chickenosaurus.
Yeah.
That's quite a name. I'm intrigued. How does that even work? Are chickens really that closely related to dinosaurs?
It might sound strange, but all birds are dinosaurs. Just highly evolved ones. Some birds, like ostriches and cassowaries, are closer to their dinosaur ancestors than others. Dr. Horner's project hinges on the concept of atavism, the reappearance of ancestral traits.
So he's trying to awaken the inner dinosaur within chickens by reactivating dormant genes. That's fascinating. Are there any experiments happening already?
There are some incredible experiments underway. In 2006, researchers grew teeth in chicken embryos by reactivating a dormant gene. Other experiments focus on altering chicken facial features to resemble reptiles and even modifying leg bone structures to be more dinosaur-like.
Wow, growing teeth in chickens. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. So what would this Chickenosaurus actually look like?
Imagine a chicken with a lizard-like face, teeth, clawed forelimbs, powerful legs, and a tail. It wouldn't be a true dinosaur, but a fascinating hybrid that provides a glimpse into the evolutionary history of these creatures.
Okay, so we've covered the how of de-extinction, the incredible science behind potentially bringing back these long-gone giants. But now for the big question. Should we be doing this at all?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
The ethical considerations of de-extinction are complex. There are compelling arguments both for and against reviving mammoths and dinosaurs. We have to carefully weigh potential benefits against the risks.
It's a decision with enormous implications. Let's start with the woolly mammoth. What are the arguments in favor of bringing them back?
One argument is that humans contributed to their extinction. So we have a moral obligation to try and right that wrong. Additionally, reintroducing mammoths to the Arctic could have ecological benefits. They could help restore the mammoth steppe, a vast grassland ecosystem that play a crucial role in regulating the climate.
So mammoths could potentially be climate change warriors. That's an interesting idea. But wouldn't introducing a large, potentially unpredictable creature back into the wild have its own risks?
Of course. There are concerns. We can't guarantee the feasibility of creating a sustainable mammoth population or providing sufficient habitat, and there's always the risk of unintended consequences for existing ecosystems. How would mammoths impact other Arctic species and the overall balance of the environment? These are crucial questions to consider.
And what about the ethics of using animals primarily for human-driven purposes, even if those purposes are seemingly beneficial? It's a complex issue.
Absolutely. Some argue that bringing back mammoths solely for scientific curiosity or potential ecological benefits raises ethical questions about our relationship with the natural world. Do we have the right to manipulate nature to this extent?
These are difficult questions without easy answers. What about dinosaurs? Are the arguments for bringing them back similar to those for mammoths?
With dinosaurs, the arguments become even more speculative since they've been extinct for millions of years. Proponents cite scientific advancements and the thrill of bringing back such iconic creatures. Some believe dinosaurs could offer educational and conservation benefits, inspiring awe and wonder in future generations.
I could see the appeal of a real-life Jurassic Park. But are there any practical applications beyond the wow factor?
That's where the skepticism comes in. Critics highlight the significant ecological risks of introducing dinosaurs into modern ecosystems. They argue these creatures could disrupt existing food chains, outcompete native species, and even become invasive.
That's a valid concern. Imagine a T-Rex on the loose.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't exactly be good for local wildlife.
Oh.
or for anyone's peace of mind, for that matter.
Exactly. And then there's the ethical concern about creating animals solely for human entertainment or scientific curiosity. Is it right to bring back creatures that have no place in the modern world, potentially subjecting them to a life in captivity?
It's a tough call. The idea of seeing these creatures alive again is incredibly exciting. But we have a responsibility to consider the potential consequences of our actions for both the animals and the planet as a whole.
Absolutely. We haven't even touched on the potential for unforeseen dangers. What if a resurrected dinosaur carries an ancient pathogen that could threaten human health? Or what if they prove to be more intelligent and adaptable than we anticipate, posing a threat to our dominance? These are hypothetical scenarios, but they highlight the need for caution and careful planning.
It's definitely a lot to think about. So where do you stand on this debate? It's a complex issue with no easy answers. We've explored the science, the potential benefits,
Yeah.
and the very real risks of de-extinction. What are your thoughts?
It's a conversation that's just beginning, and it will likely continue for decades to come. As technology advances and our understanding of genetics deepens, the possibilities will become even more tantalizing.
And the ethical questions even more profound. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our de-extinction deep dive. We've looked at the science, the possibilities, and the ethical complexities. But there's so much more to explore.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface. There are fascinating questions about the ecological implications, the potential impact on biodiversity, and the philosophical questions about our role in shaping the future of life on Earth.
It's a lot to ponder. But that's what makes this topic so compelling. We'll be back for part 2 of our de-extinction deep dive, so be sure to join us as we continue to explore this fascinating and complex issue.
Welcome back to our deep dive into de-extinction. Before the break, we were discussing the ethical considerations of bringing back creatures like woolly mammoths and dinosaurs. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It really makes you think about our responsibility towards the natural world and the potential consequences of our actions. We talked about the mammoth steppe and how reintroducing mammoths could potentially have a positive impact on the environment. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? What exactly is the mammoth steppe, and how could these massive creatures help restore it?
The mammoth steppe was a vast grassland ecosystem. It spanned from Europe across Siberia and into North America during the last ice age. It was a remarkably productive environment, supporting a wide range of large herbivores, including woolly mammoths, along with predators like wolves and saber-toothed cats.
It sounds like something out of a prehistoric nature documentary. So how did this ecosystem disappear, and how could mammoths play a role in bringing it back?
Well, the mammoth steppe started declining as the climate warmed at the end of the last ice age. But some scientists believe human hunting also played a role in the disappearance of the mammoths and other large herbivores. Without these animals grazing and trampling the vegetation, the ecosystem shifted. Denser forests and scrubland grew, which actually trap more heat than grasslands.
So the theory is that bringing back mammoths could help restore the grasslands
Yeah.
and potentially even help mitigate climate change.
Exactly. Mammoths were ecosystem engineers. Their grazing habits kept trees and shrubs in check, allowing grasslands to thrive. Grasslands reflect more sunlight than forests, helping to cool the planet. Plus, they store carbon in their roots, removing it from the atmosphere.
That's incredible. It's like a domino effect. Reintroducing mammoths could trigger a cascade of ecological changes, potentially leading to a healthier and cooler planet. But wouldn't introducing mammoths into a modern ecosystem also pose risks to existing species? We wouldn't want to create new problems while trying to solve old ones.
You raise an important point. It's a delicate balance. We need to carefully study the potential impact on existing plant and animal communities. Some species might benefit from the return of the mammoth steppe, while others might be negatively affected. Extensive research and careful planning would be essential.
It seems like every potential benefit comes of its own set of challenges and potential risks. It's clear that de-extinction isn't a simple solution to any problem.
It's not a magic bullet. It's a complex issue with a lot of unknowns. But that's what makes it so fascinating. It challenges us to think deeply about our relationship with the natural world and the potential consequences of our actions.
Now let's talk about dinosaurs. Bringing them back seems even more fraught with challenges, not to mention potential dangers.
Indeed. The idea of dinosaurs roaming the earth again sparks both excitement and apprehension. We need to consider not only the ecological risks, but also the ethical implications. Is it responsible to bring back creatures that have been extinct for millions of years? What kind of world would we be creating for them?
It's hard to imagine how dinosaurs would fit into our modern world. Their extinction paved the way for the evolution of countless other species. including our own. Reintroducing them would be like trying to insert a piece into a puzzle that's been completed.
Exactly. It could disrupt the delicate balance of ecosystems that have evolved over millions of years. And let's not forget the potential dangers to humans. While a T-Rex rampage through a city is pure Hollywood fantasy, we can't completely rule out the possibility of conflict between humans and resurrected dinosaurs.
It's a sobering thought. And even if we could ensure the safety of humans and existing ecosystems, there's the ethical question of whether we have the right to bring back creatures solely for our own curiosity or amusement. It feels a bit like playing God, doesn't it?
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
Some argue that de-extinction is driven more by hubris than by any real scientific or ecological benefit. They believe our focus should be on protecting the incredible biodiversity we have now, rather than trying to recreate the past.
It's like we're at a crossroads. Do we focus on trying to fix the mistakes of the past? Or do we prioritize the present and the future?
And that's the crux of the debate. There's no easy answer. It requires careful consideration of the scientific possibilities, the ecological implications, and the ethical dimensions. It's a discussion that requires input from scientists, policymakers, ethicists, and the public.
It's a conversation that's just beginning. But as technology advances and our understanding of genetics deepens, these questions will only become more pressing.
It's crucial that we engage in open and honest discussions about the potential benefits and risks of de-extinction. We need to carefully weigh the scientific possibilities against our ethical responsibilities.
It's a lot to ponder. We've explored the scientific marvels, the ecological complexities, and the ethical dilemmas of de-extinction. But our deep dive isn't over yet. In our next segment, we'll take a closer look at the cutting-edge field of genetics and explore how this rapidly advancing science is shaping our understanding of life itself. Stay tuned for more mind-blowing discoveries. Welcome back to our deep dive into de-extinction. We've covered a lot of ground from the science behind bringing back woolly mammoths and dinosaurs to the complex ethical considerations surrounding these endeavors.
It's a topic that really pushes us to think about our place in the natural world and the power we now wield to manipulate life at its most fundamental level.
Before the break, you mentioned that we'd be taking a closer look at genetics. It's a field that's absolutely exploding with new discoveries. It feels like every day there's a new breakthrough. Can you give us an overview of what's happening in the world of genetics and why it's so relevant to our discussion of de-extinction?
Genetics is truly at the forefront of scientific exploration. Advances in gene sequencing technology have revolutionized our understanding of life itself. We can now read an organism's entire genetic code, its genome, with incredible speed and accuracy.
So it's like having the blueprint for an organism. We can see exactly which genes are responsible for which traits.
Precisely. And by comparing genomes across different species, we can trace evolutionary relationships, identify genes responsible for specific adaptations, and even uncover the genetic basis of diseases.
That's incredible. It's like we're peeling back the layers of life's complexity and getting a glimpse into the very code that drives everything. And it's not just about understanding the past, right? Genetics is also shaping the future of medicine, agriculture, and even conservation.
Absolutely. In medicine, genetic testing is helping identify individuals at risk for certain diseases, allowing for early intervention and personalized treatments. Gene therapy is showing promise in treating genetic disorders by essentially fixing faulty genes.
I've even heard about gene editing being used to develop new cancer therapies.
Yeah.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's actually happening.
It is. And in agriculture, genetic engineering is being used to develop crops that are more resistant to pests and diseases, require less water and fertilizer, and even have enhanced nutritional content.
So we could potentially engineer crops that are more resilient to climate change and help feed a growing global population.
That's the goal. And in conservation, genetic analysis can help us understand the genetic diversity within a population, which is crucial for its long-term survival. It can also help identify individuals best suited for breeding programs, ensuring the genetic pool remains robust.
It's amazing to think that we can use these tools to help conserve the incredible biodiversity of our planet. But with all this power comes great responsibility. We need to be careful about how we use these genetic tools, ensuring we're acting ethically and responsibly.
You're absolutely right. The ethical considerations of genetic engineering are complex and far-reaching. We need to carefully consider the potential risks and benefits and ensure these technologies are used for the betterment of humanity and the planet as a whole.
It seems like every scientific advancement comes with its own set of ethical dilemmas. It's a reminder that science is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to make sure we're using it wisely.
Our exploration of de-extinction has taken us from the frozen plains of the Arctic to the depths of prehistoric jungles and into the very building blocks of life itself. It's a journey that's filled with wonder, possibility, and responsibility.
It's been an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much about the science, the ethics, and the sheer audacity of bringing back extinct creatures. What are your final thoughts on this topic?
Yeah. De-extinction is a story that's still being written. As our scientific capabilities continue to advance, so too will our understanding of the complexities and potential consequences of these actions. It's crucial that we continue to engage in thoughtful dialogue, weighing the potential benefits against the risks.
It's a reminder that science is not just about what we can do, but also about what we should do. We need to approach these powerful technologies with humility, responsibility, and a deep respect for the interconnectedness of life on Earth. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of de-extinction. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and left you pondering the future of life on our planet. Until next time.